Very much, Andreas, for your kind introduction, and many thanks to ISPD for the chance to present our topic here. So the focus, as we also heard already, here is really on analog and especially the challenges in getting analog EDA into utilization. So it's more than a technical challenge. We just heard it might be even related to biology. I think this citation here, I'm not exactly sure if, because it's a secondary source, but I think it fits nice to the picture that we heard already the first day of the conference. So analog circuit design is like chess. Just because you know the pieces, how the pieces move doesn't mean you know how to play the game. And I think this indicates a bit that, of course, the whole problem is broken down. It consists of a lot of specifics and pieces. And the chess picture, considering the graph we saw yesterday, is probably even on the easier side to solve the problem. What actually are the pieces? I would like to kind of scratch a bit the surface of this topic. I will give a brief introduction of the challenge of analog IC design, then a very brief state of the art, and then the related challenges and conclusion and an outlook. So the challenge when we look at designs as these designs here, for instance, we focus very much on analog mixed signal designs. So those are test chips and more complex designs. So you can see it's really the fields marked here are the analog parts. Typically, we just have smaller digital parts to it. And we ask ourselves, how can we improve the automation level on the analog side? Because on digital, due to the lot of nice work here, this works out really, really well. So when we look at least at the designs we do, maybe a digital design that's from a former project a few years back, it's not very big, so a few tens of minutes will generate the layout. However, on the analog side, so this is from an analog digital converter. This is pretty much manual still, so we utilize automation there. But if this was pure manual, we are talking about like weeks to months of effort in physical design. So there's a significant gap in between. And we can differentiate here into basically the quantitative challenge in digital and the qualitative complexity. And I think one big question that we have to ask ourselves on the analog side as well is which kind of design methodological constraints should be introduced, because analog is already a continuous design space, and I think we should really consider limiting ourselves to handle this very big problem. So if we look a bit into the former, a very, very brief history, so it's a mixture of plenty representations. On the digital side, you know much better. So we have evolved over time, and as we could also nicely see in the presentations yesterday and today, so there's a lot of AI in the field. And what I personally like as a comparison is really the significance what happened in the last 40 years, that you have like an approximately 1 million X increase of devices that can be handled by all those tools and the technology, of course. On the analog side, however, we are still, we just heard polygon pushing, so theoretically this should be a topic from the past, but practically speaking, it's still quite the state of the art. So even though innovations have been made here, we are way behind. So maybe we have roughly 1,000 devices more that analog design engineers can handle today in the same time, but we are far behind digital. And so this very much motivates analog automation, and Jürgen also made like a nice paper presenting this gap between digital and analog. So let's have a very brief look in the state of the art. So very roughly speaking, and this is taken from a paper from Ricardo Martins and colleagues from already a while back, but the categories, I think, help really to navigate in the field. So we have the procedural approach, as we also have seen from Bosch just before. And then there are further approaches, the template-based approach, as well as optimization-based approaches that are also continuing. This is not a complete picture here, but it gives a bit, kind of like the spectrum of activities here. And recently, the whole topic of open source is pushed more and more. And one observation that we can see here, besides the technical differentiation of the approaches, is that we have a lot of research and development teams that work on point solutions. And I believe that based on open source and this open source mindset, we can work more and more towards collaboration and trying to combine the multiple analog EDA niche solutions in order to provide broader solutions for analog IC design. Yeah, let's have a little bit a closer look into the methods. The optimization-based approach utilizes constraints and objectives, of course, various different measures to find new candidates. And here there's nice work, for instance, from Nuno Lourenço, also already quite a while back. They pretty much put multiple tools together in order to get a quite complete picture of not just the schematic level, but also the layout level. So basically to enable a layout-aware optimization. This is pretty much based on templates as well, so a special form of a geometric constraint that reflects the placement. So basically, it's already some kind of trade-off where knowledge-based placements are given into the whole system in order to constrain the solution. So there's also a nice paper here from Rafael Castro Lopez and colleagues that explored this approach for the first time. In this, well, technically speaking, it was rather a generator approach, but the idea behind is to constrain the solution from the beginning in order to be able to handle the complexity, and it basically keeps the template that's in the input already always part of the solution. So, and within the template, of course, we have to get the very details of the layout, so all the polygons, and here we come to the generator-based approach. It's, practically speaking, a script that runs based on parameters all the way through the layout. These scripts can be hierarchically, they can be very complex, but essentially they have a known strategy and solve a specific problem in a specific way, and probably the best known approaches, the best known generators are probably device generators. So every layout design engineer will always use some sort of P-cells that generate automatically details of a design, as you can see here for a transistor with already plenty of parameters. So, and as we also have seen in the presentation from Bosch before, we can further take this approach into the hierarchy, and this is exactly the field where we as a team focus on most. So this specifically is also an example of a formal design. So you can see the hierarchy can be increased, however, the level of reuse is reduced. And the big question is, where is that sweet spot where the benefit by a reasonably complex block and the reusability of it comes into place, and there we really have to think between the complexity and the base level, and we will probably often reach a relatively lower level of complexity because there are initial efforts related. And this brings us to the challenges and also related solutions in the design. So we had those three approaches: optimization-based, template-based, and generators. And the initial efforts are often really a challenge. So for the optimization-based problems, we need to get good constraints. For the template, we have to define the templates in the first place, and for the generators, we need people programming those generators, and there are not too many of them. So we see a challenge with the initial efforts, even a lack of benchmarks to really quantify the outcomes, and often see challenges in integrating multiple of those solutions into a throughout flow. So, and this basically brings me pretty much to the core statement that we always have to bring EDA experts and design experts, especially in analog, very close together, because setup and usage, the setup side is maybe often more related to an EDA expert. Based on the specifics. So maybe when it comes to optimization, on the schematic level, design engineers can do it on their own. There are nice tools. Meanwhile, on the layout side, it's probably more challenging. And there is a communication barrier that we have recognized, that EDA and design is really kind of two worlds. And I really like and want to promote that we should find good ways to bring EDA and design together, because the designers, they have the expert knowledge, they can bring in this, and the EDA experts have the knowledge to open a world of optimization, of variant search and automation that pure design alone would not allow. So, and the foundation here is really a mutual understanding to even be able to communicate across these topics. So it's kind of like a spectrum of topics that we are talking about. We have the tools, the designers, semiconductor technologies, design environments, to just mention a few, and related challenges here are manifold, and this is certainly also not complete. So on the tool side, we need to find the right solution. On the designer side, it's often even a question like, what's the EDA affinity, as we just heard before. So maybe the younger guys are more open to such kind of solutions. On the design environments, we often see that there are it's the discussion of costs and capabilities, and semiconductor technology might even cause legal limitations in access, which all often is part of the of finding a good solution for a given design and automation problem. Okay, so this when we take all this into consideration, in typical design phases, and of course this is very much simplified, we have the specification followed by design and verification. But with automation, we really have to consider what are the initial efforts in order to then have ideally the design accelerated and the verification improved, and then even be able to reuse former design and automation methods, which is not the case in pure manual design. So this initial effort here often is the big topic to be discussed. And here we follow an approach with new generators where we try to mix both usability and these knowledge-based approaches in one technical solution, and really focus on usability. So we also heard this, I guess, was it yesterday or today, that has not always been the main focus, something along this line. And we really see that usability should always be very much considered. And this brings me to one technical example here. It's the approach basically is very simple. We use the template approach that I mentioned before, combine it with a generator that I mentioned before in a user interface that's that's basically straightforward to understand, so that the user can control how a simple arrangement is realized. And if you now use this approach in a hierarchical manner, we get a more complex generator, and we can steer a more complex layout. and then we can generate something like this operational amplifier example based on user interaction with the parameter interface rather than programming it. Okay, so I will probably skip this. Those are some examples that we discussed before, where we really try to generate a sweet spot versus the part that should be done by analog design engineers. But I think, due to the time, I will skip this and again, like, motivate to really get EDA and design together, and to also try to push community and exchange. And this is pretty much also the outlook here. Analog IC design is very complex and challenging. So the good communication and mutual understanding is key to find just the right EDA solution for a given analog design problem, which is often somewhat specific. So there won't be like the one-size-fits-all solution. Here we really should be creative to find a good combination of solutions and to solve a design problem. And in the entire time, really consider the user and keep usability in mind, because the mindsets are very much different across programming and design. So but if this is considered, this is a good direction to go based on the communication. Good solutions can be found. And this pretty much summarizes the talk, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Questions?
So intrinsically, analog design is harder because digital circuit, to some extent, is composable. Analog is not composable. So the parasitics dominate everything. So this template design is a little bit misguided because the parasitics dominate everything, and where context exists makes a huge difference. And so placing an analog circuit in a digital circuit, which is the mixed case, I don't see that being addressed.
Sure, it's not addressed in this talk, but what I have not stated here, when using templates, we can also implement models to get a good estimate of routing and placement and matching aspects, for instance. So that basically, based on the system and based on high-level definitions, we can already get early qualification measures, which goes into the direction of benchmarking. So for instance, when it comes to patterns, we have like a short feedback line that gives us an overview, like which logical devices are matched in which way. And with the templates in the former work, we also use to estimate parasitics, so to get an idea how this is treated. Plus, this can also be linked with the design environment even. So that's like the early extractor is fed back into like a user interface to give the user a faster idea of what he has to expect.
I'm sorry, that wasn't clear.
Yeah. I suggest moving additional questions to the pause, because we are already over time. And so let's thank the speaker again.